Quirrell whirled, about to face Harry Potter in surprise. For a second, Hermione was confused, as it looked more like Jim instead of Harry who had entered the room. Then she realized this was the first time since September that she'd seen him in casual attire and without sleekeasy in his hair.
"Mr. Potter, and just in the nick of time,"
said Quirrell confidently. "Yes, I heard your evil gloating as I was coming down the stairs. Very spooky." Quirrell glowered at the boy, who was suddenly grateful for his limited occlumency training. Without it, he'd be having another panic attack right now, like the one in Snape's classroom, except out loud this time. Instead, he was able to suppress his instinct to curl up into a tiny whimpering ball and project the same confidence he displayed in the prince's lair back when dealing with Draco.
"Tell me, Professor Quirrell,"
he continued, hoping to keep the man's attention on him. "It's just us now, so we can be honest with one another. What in Merlin's name happened to you? All the upper-year students I spoke to who remember you do so fondly. A kind, intelligent man who'd obtained a mastery in the field of Muggle studies, one who was respected by his students and his fellow teachers. Now, you're a cackling villain who talks of torturing children to get your way." Quirrell laughed cruelly.
"I left Hogwarts for a year's sabbatical before taking a turn as the defense instructor. Still so young and foolish I was, full of ridiculous ideas about good and evil. Then I found him my master. He showed me the truth of the world, showed me how wrong I was. There is no good or evil. There is only—"
"Power,"
interrupted Harry.
"Power and those too weak to understand it. Yes, I am familiar with that quotation. It was in Rise and Fall of the Dark Arts and was first attributed to the Dark Lord Emeric, who ravaged Britain in the 14th century. And yet somehow, Emeric's words didn't stop people from calling him Emeric the Evil."
Harry snorted, almost contemptuously, at Quirrell.
"It's kind of funny, actually, that your master patterned himself on one of the few Gryffindors who became a Dark Lord. That actually explains a lot of his bad habits. Incidentally, did your master ever mention to you that those words were part of Emeric's final statement just moments before his execution?"
Quirrell found himself taken aback by the boy's eerily calm demeanor as well as his knowledge of dark matters. Then, a rasping, sibilant voice echoed around the room. "Enough talk. Get the stone, us the boy." The four bound Gryffindors looked around wildly at the menacing voice, and Harry stiffened at the sound. Quirrell gestured angrily towards him.
"Come here, Potter."
He spat. Harry slowly walked towards Quirrell and the mirror. His plan at the moment was to look into the mirror, hope that he could resist its power now that he knew how it worked, and then spin a bunch of lies to keep Quirrell and his master occupied until grown-ups showed up. Unless no grown-ups showed up, in which case he and all his friends would die, and he would make a point of haunting Olivia Columbico and Rodney Montague for the rest of their lives. But as he moved next to Quirrell and looked into the cursed mirror, Harry was surprised to see that the image was not he was expecting. His heart's desire no longer reflected him as a loving and loyal member of the Potter clan. Instead, the image was a reflection of his current self, sitting comfortably on the Hydra throne, which now recognized him as Prince. The mirror version of Harry looked down at the real version with regal confidence. That suddenly broke into a mischievous smirk. Then Delilah, whose head had been outside of the mirror's frame, twisted into view with a large crystalline stone in her mouth. She dropped the stone into Mirror Harry's waiting hand and hissed a coquettish laugh. Mirror Harry slipped the philosopher's stone into his trouser pocket and winked, and Harry's own trouser pocket suddenly bulged as new weight was added to it. Harry's eyes widened.
They hid the stone in the mirror in such a way that only someone who didn't actually want to possess it could draw it back out again.
He thought in wonder.
And it never occurred to them that Quirrell might force an unwilling hostage to help him. "I've got morons on my team."
Quirrell must have noticed Harry's response.
"What is it, Potter? What do you see?"
He asked angrily. I see myself. Dumbledore is, shaking hands with me. I've won the House Cup." Inside, Harry was cringing. Usually, he was a much better liar than this, but he was so startled to have the object of Quirrell's desire suddenly dumped into his pocket that he froze and simply couldn't come up with anything convincing. He wasn't the only one who noticed.
"Hey, Lace,"
exclaimed that terrible hissing voice.
"Oh well, it was worth a try,"
thought Harry. Then, in a fluid motion, he popped out his wand, whirled it towards Quirrell's head, and yelled sonorous, as loudly as he could, making sure to emphasize the first syllable. The same high-pitched shriek that earned Harry his first detention erupted once more. The bound Gryffindors winced in pain, while Quirrell nearly doubled over, as Harry backed as quickly as he could towards the stairs.
"Stop him, you fool!"
Cried the awful voice, and despite his pain, Quirrell sent a banishing charm in Harry's direction. It caught the boy with such force that he twisted around in midair and landed painfully face down on the floor. Then, Quirrell snapped his fingers, and a barrier of flame rose up at the top of the stairs, blocking Harry's escape.
Pitiful child. Did you really you could strike me down with a weak attack like that?
Snarled Quirrell in anger. Slowly, Harry rose with his back to the older wizard. "No," he coughed.
I really just wanted to make sure that you knew I could cast the glass-shattering curse.
As he spoke, he whirled around to face his enemy with his wand in one hand, its tip resting against the fake Philosopher's Stone that he held in the other. "Now, Professor, I believe you said earlier that it was time we had a chat. So, let's chat. Otherwise, I shatter the Philosopher's Stone into a million pieces."
You insolent brat.
Screamed Quirrell.
Give me that stone, or I swear you and your friends will die in agony.
Oh, will you shut UP already?
Yelled Harry right back.
I swear you were less annoying when you were stuttering. You have nothing to offer me now except threats to kill us all, and since you were going to kill us all anyway, those don't frighten me.
Harry snickered, almost contemptuously.
Besides, as a famous muggle by the name of Winston Churchill once said, never talk with a monkey when the organ grinder is in the room, so zip it and let your master speak.
Quirrell growled, but then the unearthly voice spoke up again. "Let me assess speak to the boy,"
Master,
said Quirrell nervously.
you are not strong enough.
"I'm SS strong enough for this." And with that, Quirrell straightened and began to unwrap the turban atop his head. Harry steeled himself for the sight of what, months earlier, he'd imagined as a doom pimple. The reality was far worse. As the last of the wrappings fell away, Voldemort was revealed, a wrinkled, hideous face of pure malice and hate, grafted onto the back of Quirrell's bald skull and reflected in the mirror. Harry risked a quick glance at Voldemort while the Dark Lord's eyes were still unfocused. Then he fixed his gaze on Quirrell's chest, focused on his limited occlumency training, and resolved that no matter what, he would not meet Voldemort's gaze. His life, and that of all of his friends, depended on Voldemort not seeing into Harry's mind. For their part, the Gryffindors seemed to have been rendered speechless with horror.
Voldemort.
Jim whispered in shock.
SSC what I have become, Harry Potter. SSC what your brother has done to me.
Hissed Voldemort.
Are you expecting an apology? Besides, I don't plan to see any part of you. I know you're a Legilimens, so if it's all the same, I'll just keep my attention on Professor Quirrell in case he tries anything we'll all regret.
Ah, you are indeed cunning, Harry Potter, worthy of Slytherin house. And to think your foolish parents abandoned you to filthy muggles and then rejected you again merely because of your SS sorting. Join me, Harry Potter. SS sit at my right hand, and I will grant both vengeance against those who have wronged you and prowess beyond your imagination.
Really? Because, you know, I can imagine quite a lot of power.
Harry said, giving every impression of seriously considering Voldemort's offer.
Harry, you can't.
Cried Hermione.
Don't listen to him, Harry.
Exclaimed Neville.
I always knew you were a dark wizard, you snake.
Yelled Jim. Harry fought the urge to roll his eyes at Jim's idiocy. Excuse me, will all the Gryffindors, and especially Jim, kindly shut up? The grown-ups are talking now. Then he turned his attention back to Quirrell while studiously avoiding eye contact with Voldemort.
Obviously, my lord, I would need some assurances.
He said.
SS such as.
He took a deep breath and tried to think of something he could plausibly ask in order to keep Voldemort